The Homeland Project, a new form of documentary television. Its central purpose is to investigate issues of both national and international concern and place these before a worldwide audience in such a manner that transforms the understanding, appreciation, and outlook of its viewers. The Homeland Project incorporates production personnel from the subject area into its base team to produce programming of unprecedented insight, accuracy, and access to people and filming locations. The result is programming that plays to international audiences in a single version at a critical time with a universal message.
Now is the time to leave Communist Party.
Homeland Project films allow the people actually making change and those most directly affected by the process to tell the story of their times. The Homeland team takes its viewers directly to an issue through the lives of the people who are most involved. It is the powerful and often personal stories told by the people in the actual locations in question that has made Homeland the success it is today. The project that has hosted world premieres, won international awards and nominations, and been viewed by millions began as the idea of one man. This story begins in 1987 and continues with a look at the Homeland Project through the films it has produced and presented to the world. Through the 1980s, world events were moving with increasing speed and building tension. The Homeland Project was created in response to the need for timely, effective communication between the people of different countries. Veteran documentary producer Stanley Odell approached the Central Studio for Documentary Film of Moscow with the idea for the first Homeland project, Homeland US USSR. In order to assure accuracy, certain safeguards were built into the series. The films would feature subjects of concern to both nations, be filmed equally in both countries by a single team of Soviet and American filmmakers, and be broadcast internationally in one version on the same day. Issues were to be examined through the culturally diverse perspectives of the production team and presented in a documentary style created to reach multinational audiences. Against some very long odds, protocols were established, agreements reached, crews and the site for the first episode selected, and the project began. Soviet Armenia. In 1987, a nation on the verge of open warfare with neighboring Azerbaijan. The first Homeland production visited Armenia to question the relationship between this republic and dominant Russia. Armenia is also the heritage of the American producer, and the story was expanded to tell of the concerns of a father and his son as they returned to the homeland of their ancestors. The joint production team experienced many problems during this initial project. Language, filming techniques, and personal misgivings based on years of national mistrust made the first days together challenging. Through holding to a common purpose, the crew members overcame their differences and worked on to seek out the issues facing Armenians living within the Soviet system. And it was here that the Homeland team was allowed first-time filming by foreign journalists of a meeting of the Communist Party. The search for the story took the Homeland team throughout Armenia to hear the accounts of the common people and the powerful. An audience with Pope Vascan I and his personal secretary allowed Homeland viewers a rare insight into religion in the Soviet Union.
It was always a war to preserve our own nation, our culture, our faith, our religion.
The crew's completion of its first work as a single unit was celebrated in an ancient village in the hills. It was now a proven team and ready to continue on to the United States. In sharp contrast to historic Armenia, the first U.S. production took the project crew to the modern city of Seattle, Washington. The subject for this second episode of the series was the accuracy of American perceptions of the Soviet Union and the Soviet people. The Russian crew members were interested in interviewing average citizens, and this led the team on a search throughout Western Washington for people of varied occupations and lifestyles. The American people interviewed proved most responsive to the mixed team, and the replies to the questions posed by the producers led to some surprising conclusions.
After this first meeting, I wondered if perhaps this particular lack of knowledge might be the root of our misunderstanding.
The decision was made to air the first two productions as a single one-hour program. This initial U.S. production trip also saw completion of the joint editing of the first program, formal acceptance of the finished product by Soviet National Television, and the sale of the entire series to the Discovery Channel. The premiere of the first program was held in Seattle at an event hosted by Washington's Secretary of State and attended by official representatives of both nations. Homeland, Soviet Armenia, and Washington State was released on Christmas Day 1988 to an audience of over 55 million viewers worldwide. Leningrad, Russia's city of passion and pain. No other city in the Soviet Union experienced so much suffering and misery during the Second World War. For 900 days, Leningrad endured siege and starvation unparalleled in modern history. The Homeland team came especially to this city to look at the impact warfare has had on the Soviet people, and to see how these experiences have affected the perspective of the modern Soviet military. The team spoke with survivors of the siege and visited old battlefields. It met with Mrs. Zoya Vasilievna Blucher, daughter of one of the first 5 marshals of the Soviet Union.
You know what cold is when there is no heating anywhere. You know there were buildings where all the people died. A whole apartment would die. And in spite of that, no one tree was cut down.
The project crew was granted unprecedented access to military bases and personnel, and spent days filming and interviewing the officers and men of the Soviet Army. The production team was hosted for 2 days by the Soviet Navy during battle drill on an anti-aircraft cruiser in the Gulf of Finland. The team filmed the training and day-to-day life of the sailors, and challenged the ship's officers and crew with questions as to the purpose of the Soviet armed forces. In Leningrad, the project looked not only at the effects of historical warfare, but also at the very real human costs still being paid today. The production team left Leningrad for the southwest American city of Santa Fe, New Mexico, for a serious look at the issues of coexistence. The city of Santa Fe, New Mexico is home to the Hispanic, the Anglo, and the American Indian. There is perhaps no other city in the United States where so many diverse cultures live together in one location that all claim equally as their birthright. This city was purposefully selected with the Homeland team to explore the timely subject of coexistence. Members of the various ethnic groups were interviewed to develop the problems and benefits that result when very different communities attempt to work and live together. While in the Santa Fe area, the Homeland team was allowed to film the testing of America's largest gamma ray generator, a device that simulates the effects of a nuclear blast. The project director, Dr. Pace Van Devender, invited the team into his home as he entertained a group of top Soviet and American scientists working together for the first time at a highly classified weapons laboratory. The question of personal accountability was raised with regards to the devastating weapons these men had helped to create.
So then, in the end, then who is responsible? If it's
Now?
not, yes.
All the very high officials.
No. Mankind,
I think it's the people.
not officials. People.
Promotion for Homeland Project films remains an ongoing and major aspect for all projects. For this second program release, a premiere was arranged and hosted by the Santa Fe business community, with the governor of New Mexico as keynote speaker. The premiere was attended by regional television UPI and AP, Soviet and American television representatives, and business and governmental dignitaries from 4 nations. In December 1989, Homeland, Leningrad, and Santa Fe was broadcast through 23 time zones and reached an audience of 78 million people. The summer of 1990, exactly a year before the communist coup and the end of the Soviet Union. The Homeland team has come to Moscow in the face of foreboding national tensions and in anticipation of momentous changes ahead. Changes that would in fact bring an end to the first Homeland production. The production team desired to document the political and economic problems facing the Soviet Union, as well as possible solutions for these obstacles. Special access to the 28th Party Congress was granted to the Homeland team, allowing filming from within the Congress Hall. Another special consideration for the crew was permission to film within the headquarters of the KGB and to conduct an interview with Chief of Staff Vitaly Ponomaryov. The crew spoke with staunch communist professors, high-ranking military officers, leaders of the newly developed political parties, and the very aware citizens of Moscow. Mr. Sergei Stankevich, Vice Mayor of Moscow.
You see, now it's time to be absolutely sincere with our people, to explain them the situation in full, with no illusions. The situation is very bad.
Marshal of the Soviet Union, Sergei Akrameyev, personal military advisor to Mr. Gorbachev.
I've been a communist for nearly 50 years now. I've been living and will die as a communist. It is from this position that I look at the events happening today.
This Homeland one-hour special on Moscow continued its investigations through looking at the possible solutions to the problems facing the Soviet Union. Again, the production team spoke with leaders and average citizens alike. Special attention was given to a new force in the Soviet Union, private enterprise. Moscow's first multimillionaire businessman, Mr. Fyodorov.
I had been working as a manager of a major tourist restaurant. I had 500 people I was in the command of, and I didn't care at all. My salary was 200 rubles. I had been stealing as much as I considered necessary, and I didn't care about the enterprise itself. Today I spend about 15 hours a day here, and if they come to take it away, I'll stand in the door with a submachine gun and be shooting it off as long as I can, because this is mine.
Although a Homeland Special Moscow was created for a world audience, special care was taken to allow the Soviet people to hear a personal message from their old and new leadership.
I think most of all we need in our society respect for a different person's opinion. Respect of one party towards another party.
I would like to measure my political success by the quantity of smiling Muscovites on the streets.
The first Homeland Project production, US-USSR, is history. It won 2 International Television Association awards for excellence in programming and was nominated by the Discovery Channel for 3 consecutive Cable Emmy Awards in the category of Best Documentary Special of the Year. The series was featured in U.S. News and World Report, Moscow News, Emmy Magazine, and was the New York Times pick to watch on Christmas Day 1989. Homeland US-USSR's most important achievement, however, was its ability to anticipate critical issues and to be present to record events and communicate messages. Through PBS, Discovery, and national Soviet television broadcast, 125 million viewers watched this final series episode. The Homeland team has developed other projects throughout the world. In Africa, the crew worked with foreign television in production of Africa on the Move, a one-hour special featuring the possibilities existing for the people of this continent. The team met and interviewed Ugandan governmental leaders, including the president of the country, as well as the American ambassador, as it explored the complicated problems of health, transportation, education, and other issues facing the people today. The production team spent weeks in the field to document the life and ambitions of the Ugandan people. The finished program was broadcast in over 15 countries, including the United States, Japan, and throughout Africa. The Homeland Project continues its work with topics of both national and international significance. It intends to remain at the forefront of documentary television production through the presentation of important issues in an accurate and powerful manner. In a decade that has brought major world change and guarded optimism, we are now witnessing new and striking concerns. The project will proceed with its work to explore the possibilities for the future and to present these to a worldwide audience. The Homeland Project set out to investigate nations undergoing critical change and the international ramifications of those changes. The project has won awards and nominations, hosted premieres, and been featured in multinational media. Homeland has filmed the world over to bring its programs before millions of viewers. As the Homeland Project set out to provide a forum for communication, it created a new style of documentary television. It is a style that has been well received.